Yeah. No, you know who her daughter is. That's not it, right?
Yeah, she heard or something. It's on the parking lot, waits for her. Oh. I have 7 o'clock, Mr. President.
It is 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order.
We have all counselors, with Regina Hendricks absent. We do have a quorum.
Do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to start this meeting with a special announcement. We are honored to have with us, and they look sharp in their uniforms and the badges, and wow, I never had that many. But we have Boy Scout Troop 615 with us, and they're leaders. And it's good to see the fathers and mothers with the troop too. The support is great. So thank you for being here. Well, we should be out by 11:30 tonight. So anyway.
It's a school night.
Okay, we'll try for 10:30. Okay, special, go ahead.
Under public hearings, we have a resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a 6-story hotel building in a C3 community commercial district for the property located at 3022 Ford Street.
Mrs. Christensen. Okay, you're on.
KDN Hospitality LLC has applied for a conditional use permit to allow a 6-story hotel building in the C3 Community Commercial District for the property located at 3022 Ford Street. This is the former Wicks lumber site. So it has been vacant for a number of years. This request is related to just the height of the building. The hotel is allowed by right, but anything above 4 stories requires a conditional use permit. We did put that provision in place, I think, back when the clinic was doing. In addition, because we really we had low height standards, and so we put in this provision to allow it to be a conditional use permit for height above 4 stories. They have submitted a site development plan, which is included in your packet, which shows the location of the parcel. It shows their intention of how they're going to lay out the hotel. The DOT has informed the property owner that they intend to acquire at least 1.6 acres for additional right-of-way related to the interchange reconstruction project. As part of this project, Ford Street may be reconstructed into a cul-de-sac. They're proposing a private drive leading from Ford Street to the proposed hotel, and have expressed an interest in designing the private drive to accommodate future commercial development on the remaining portions of this parcel. They're proposing a 127-unit hotel building with an overall height of 6 stories. When this came to Plan Commission, there was a lot of discussion about the interchange and the salt shed and a variety of transportation improvements. We did connect Brad Lawver with Mike Flesh to talk, because he had a lot of questions about how that was going to affect Cornelius and how that was all going to be laid out. And I think Mike Flesh and Brad did connect. There was some concern from the Plan Commission because of the distance, not many of the properties were noticed. So we did notice over to Brannigan, as I think Councilor Levy suggested, that we do a little broader noticing. So notices were sent to the owners of 2784, 2786, 2790, and 2800 Milwaukee Road. We stayed on that side because that's, I think, what you were concerned about. But Plan Commission did review it and vote unanimously to recommend approval of the conditional use permit, subject to the 4 conditions which are listed in the resolution, which is that this approval authorizes the construction of a 127-unit hotel building with an overall height of up to 6 stories, 73 feet above grade on the subject property. Prior to the issuance of a building permit for this hotel, all of the existing buildings on the subject property shall be demolished and the site cleared. Prior to issuance of a building permit for this hotel, the applicant shall submit detailed site and architectural plans for planning staff review and approval, and then their standard condition of major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being able to be approved administratively.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so this first call for citizen participation. Second call. Third and final call. On this matter, sir? I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, that will close the public hearing on the planned hotel. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by DeForest, seconded by Levy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. 6-0. Thank you, Beth. Okay, now it's time for citizens' participation. At this time, I would like to ask citizens to come forward. I have one sheet here, but before I call on that person, just like to remind people, if you do come forward, please refrain from any disparaging comments or personal attacks. Okay, the first person is Stacy Hewells, co-founder and chairman of Aseptics Ingredients. Could you just give your name and address, sir?
Sure, President Lupke, thank you very much. My name is Stacy Hewells. Like you said, we are the future owner of True Aseptics, the former Wild facility here on Wyetta Drive. With me tonight is Jim Hurley, my business partner, friend for 10 years, and he will be our CEO when we take control of the facility here on Wednesday. We hope to close on it. Really, I just wanted to address you tell you how excited we are to be coming to the community. This facility, as you know, has been vacant for 2 years. We've been working on this transaction for about 6 months. And one, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody in the community that's really rolled out the red carpet for us, including City Attorney Kruger, City Manager Lori Luther has been of assistance. The people at First National Bank, Michelle Mathis has been extraordinarily helpful to us. Andrew Yonke, James Otterstein, the Water Department, Rich Douglas and Cheryl Simplot, and the CCI Group, Terry Russell and Brad Austin. A little bit of background on our family. We are long-term investors. We want to own this for a very long time, and we're excited about the fact that we've already rehired some former employees from this branch, and we look forward of hiring. I think we're going to have upwards of 40 people employed there within the next year. So our family is in the food industry. We own 2 businesses in Illinois. We have about 700 total employees and have been around for about 120 years. So I know there's been a fair amount of turnover in this facility, but really what we're excited about is being long-term, really good corporate citizens in the community. And even though I'm from the Chicago area, I will tell you, Jim's going to laugh at me, but I grew up in a town, I grew up on a grain and dairy farm in southern Illinois, one stoplight town on the outskirts of a town that had 3,400 residents. So the small town feel that I've gotten and the welcoming, helpful nature of the city of Beloit has been extraordinary, and we really appreciate everything. I hope I didn't forget anybody, Jim, to say thank you. But really, we've just really enjoyed the relationship we're building, and anything we can do to help the community, we look forward to that.
Well, thank you, Stacy and Jim, and welcome to Beloit. And got some, you could always look for a home. We got some beautiful homes here, and Peter can make
Jim's
a good
going to be
Italian
moving
meal.
up here with his lovely bride Eileen, so Jim's going to. I'm sure you'll see him around in local establishments. Hopefully, he's behaving and not disparaging anybody.
We'll keep an eye on him.
We'll keep an eye on him. Thank
Again,
you very
thanks
much.
again. Welcome to
Okay,
Beloit.
Appreciate it.
Okay, other people would like to address the council. First call. Second call. Third and final call. You guys are supposed to get up and talk. Scouts. Merit badge. Okay, that'll close the public hearing. Consent agenda?
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Anybody like anything removed? Sheila, Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Item D is in dog, please.
Anybody else? Okay, the consent agenda will consist of A, B, and C. Is there a motion?
I move.
Moved by Preschel, seconded by Sloniker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay, D.
Item D is a resolution authorizing the final pay of Public Works Contract C-16-12, the Broad Street Bridge deck repairs.
Mr. Flash.
Thank you. This is a routine final payment for the council. The project was awarded last spring, was completed last June, July, and we're recommending final payment of $3,150 to Concrete Structures. We're satisfied with the work completed.
Sheila, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I know we ran into some issues with some of the repair work here. Could you speak briefly about that, and then what measures were made to assure the public that the bridge repairs were inspected and meet your expectations?
We wouldn't be before you if they hadn't met our expectations.
Yeah,
We'd still
I
be fighting
appreciate
over
that. I want to make sure, because we've had issues in the past.
You know. The project, due to some vibrations, there was a couple that delaminated because they're partial depth concrete repairs. Not to get too technical on anyone, but they just didn't stick, even with an epoxy adhesion between the two. We came back and made some additional repairs, and we're okay with them. We're hoping the rest hold satisfactorily. We do have a 1-year warranty, so we're okay. And we plan on doing the second structure, the downstream one, this coming summer, spring and summer.
Will you be using a different method, given the problems you ran into the first set?
We're evaluating options.
Okay.
One of them is to close the whole thing to traffic, but that's pretty disruptive. So we have to weigh the failure rate versus the success and the total disruption. So we'll be analyzing that before we put it out to bid.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Moved by Preschel, seconded by Sloniker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Licenses.
Under licenses, under 7A, there's a resolution approving an amendment to the license premise for a Class B beer and Class B liquor license for Wisco Kitchens LLC at 302 State Street. Jacqueline Jeanette is the agent. Last year, you approved a license for her, actually this year, it was in June, and she had originally applied for both floors of the facility. She is subleasing the first floor to a CrossFit facility, so she had to amend her license to just include a 50-person capacity portion on the second floor and the places that she will also store the alcohol. So the committee is recommending approval 4-0 on that.
This is a simple amendment, that's it. Okay, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Levy, seconded by Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
7B is a resolution granting an extension for the issuance of a Class B beer and Class B liquor license for Zachariah Robert Davis, doing business as the new Pop House at 863 5th Street. You also granted him a license in June, and he has not been able to get his company open and running because of issues getting the deed, the warranty deed cleared and in his name. He explained to the committee that he has since been able to get a clear title on the property and plans to move forward and hopes to be open by spring. The committee recommended approval of a 6-month extension, 4-0.
So this is an extension. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Levy, seconded by Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Question?
Can
Question?
we
Oh,
make
question,
sure
I'm
we
sorry.
ask for questions or
I'm sorry.
discussion? I don't have any, but I would appreciate if we asked if there are questions or discussion.
Okay, I didn't see your light on, I'm sorry.
I don't have a question for this particular matter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Under 7C, we have a resolution granting an extension for the issuance of a Class B beer and Class B liquor license for Palermo Enterprise LLC located at 618 4th Street, Olsey Eccleberry, agent. This is Peter Gabriel's business, and you did issue this one last year in November of 2015. He did get a 4-month extension in July of this year. He explained to the committee last week that he's had some extenuating circumstances with a close friend who has passed away, and he's been helping them with their business, and so has done nothing since the license was originally granted to him. He said he's committed to this family to the end of the year, will then need about 6 months. So he asked for a 6-month extension to get the business up and running, and the ABLCC did grant or make a recommendation 4-0 for a 6-month extension.
Another extension.
So this would be his second.
Any questions? Okay. Counselor DeForest.
Mr. Gabriel.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for being here for questions. So this is your second extension. I just wanted to double check with you. These are a limited number of licenses we have. So I wanted to check to see if you had some pretty firm plans about this enterprise within the next 6 months.
I do.
Okay. I just want to make sure because we only have a limited number of them and it's your second extension.
I'm aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Levy, seconded by Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Ordinances?
There are none?
Appointments?
There are some.
Okay.
This evening, the individuals named below have been nominated for a seat on a city board, committee, or commission. Each nomination is subject to confirmation by the city council. Approval of appointments will be accomplished by one motion unless a council member requests to take up a nomination separately, in which event the nomination will be removed from the general order of business and considered at a separate point on the agenda. The Appointment Review Committee appoints incumbent Kurt Reynolds to a term ending December 31st, 2019. The Business Improvement District appoints incumbent Megan Moss to a 3-year term. Incumbent Melinda Obershaw to a 3-year term. Tiela Marie Lemereau, Northwoods Premium, to a term ending December 31st, 2019. Jessica Hernandez, First National Bank and Trust. She is replacing Elaine Rieberick, as owner-occupant for a term ending December 31st, 2019. In the Community Development Authority, Merlin Knitzer was appointed to a term ending December 31st, 2017, replacing Manuel Cesaris. Charlene DeBrock, replacing Tressie Webster to a term ending December 31st, 2020. On the Equal Opportunities Commission, John S. Emery, replacing Mike Zorel to a term ending June 30th, 2017. And finally, Municipal Golf Committee, incumbent William Mays Jr. to a term ending December 31st, 2019.
Thank you. You did a good job in the names, too. Is there a motion to accept? Yes.
Beth, I think I have to recuse myself from one of these because that's my employer. Tila is my boss.
Should we take that one separate and let him vote on the rest?
You could do that if you'd like as well, yeah.
Why don't we do that first? Well, why don't you?
Okay.
Let's vote on hers first. So why don't you leave, then come motion.
I don't think I have to leave. I just have to recuse myself from voting.
Okay. Okay. So you will not be voting on this. Okay. So the first one, we'll have just voting for one person, Tia Marie Lamoureux. Did I pronounce that right? Tila. Northwoods Premium, 314B State Street. All in favor, say aye.
We need a motion, don't we?
Move
I'll make the
approval.
motion.
Second.
Sheila made the motion. Sheila DeForest, seconded by Kevin Levy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Now we have to vote on her separate.
We have one abstention on that, and I do have that in the minutes.
Okay,
Thank you.
5-0. Threw me off there, Mark. Okay,
I forgot to mention. earlier.
okay. Now is there a motion for?
Oh, what about the other appointments?
Okay.
Second.
Motion by DeForest, seconded by Levy. That would be on Reynolds, Moss, Obershaw, Hernandez, Knitzer, DeBrock, Emery, and Mays. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0.
6-0.
Six that time.
6.
I'm sorry, I totally missed that when we were going over the agenda, so.
Mr. President, just to finish up on that item, there are some following vacancies. The Alcohol Beverage and License Control Committee has 1 vacancy for the Tavern League rep. There are 2 vacancies to the Appointment Review Committee. There are 2 vacancies on the Board of Review, and there is 1 vacancy for a youth representative on the Municipal Golf Committee.
Thank you. We always encourage our citizens to become involved. And if a citizen would like to become involved, what
They can
procedure?
contact the city clerk's office or the city administrator's office. We have the
paperwork.
paperwork there. There's also paperwork out on the city website. If you go to boards, commissions, and committees, it actually explains what the time commitment is, when they meet, whether or not they're a paid committee or not, and things like that. So, and if you have questions about them, the city clerk's office or the city manager's office can help with that too. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Council activities and upcoming events. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Well, first I was quite pleased to see, am I on?
You're on.
Okay. I was very pleased to see Josh Mahorko here in the audience with us because I had in my plans to thank him for the beautiful Veterans Memorial that he developed and implemented out at East Lawn Cemetery. You did fantastic work there. I know you worked really hard on this. This has been a dream of yours for over a year. I remember when you first came to talk with me about it a very long time ago, and I appreciate your persistence to see it through. So congratulations to you. And it happens to be his birthday today, so happy birthday to you. And I'm excited for the other troop members that are here, and you have a great role model in Josh. So I'm looking forward to hearing about your Eagle projects sometime in the future as well. So I would like to share also gratitude to Mr. James Thompson, who is in the audience here. He will be leaving the transit department, and what a huge loss for the transit department. You have been incredible with the incredible focus on customer service there. We appreciate that you make the commitment to come here and stay abreast of city issues and make sure that we hear the voices of our transit riders. So we will definitely miss you. Don't be a stranger. Thank you for all that you've done for the city as you move on to your new position. Some activities that I was able to participate in. I really appreciated, as all my colleagues were able to attend as well, the implicit bias training. I know that will be the first of many conversations we'll have about privilege and bias, and I'm really appreciative of our city manager for taking that direction and really moving forward with making sure that our city employees are cognizant of their bias and how we can provide better customer service to all of our residents. I was pleased to meet with the consultant that is revisiting our logo and appreciated that input to have that conversation. I attended the DBA meeting, the Downtown Beloit Association meeting, and I'm always grateful for the incredible work and all the wonderful promotional activities that are happening. Our downtown is just buzzing and thriving, and a lot of it is due to the hard work of our staff in the DBA and also wonderful volunteers and fantastic board members. So thank you to them. And that's all. Thank you. Oh, I guess I should say, because it's coming up, happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays, Feliz Navidad, and happy Kwanzaa, and happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas, and what a wonderful time. And I know in a recent community event I shared, and I'll share this again, please let's look out for each other. Beloiters already do this. I think it's part of our nature. But please pay attention to those neighbors around you who might be alone for the holidays, and reach out to them. So thanks, because I know so many of you Beloiters do that already. But if we could all do our part, no one will be alone for the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Slaniker.
I also had an opportunity to attend the implicit bias training. And then I just wanted to thank all the snow removal individuals that did a lot of hours through the last 2 snowfalls and the last 2 weekends. Greatly appreciated, cleaning up all the roads, and it takes a lot of work and hours, so that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Duncan.
Okay, I just have a couple things. First, I'd like to also echo that we will miss you, James, working with the transit department. You've done a wonderful job there, so you will definitely be missed. And I just would like to say to everyone, have a very happy and safe Christmas and holiday. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Preschel.
Thanks, Dave. This is our last meeting of 2016, and I thought instead of going over what I've done or haven't done, I thought I'd mention how happy I am and how thankful I am for all the citizens in Beloit that put a lot of work into making our city so unique and so wonderful to live in. And also to all our staff and organizations, the community, and the businesses in it. I really appreciate everything they do, and I benefit from it every day. And I really want everybody to know that it's another year down, and we're still on the road to really great things in 2017. I appreciate my fellow councilors for putting up with me. Thank you very much. And I will stop talking now. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. And thanks again for making Beloit the great place it is.
Thank you. Councilor Levy.
Just a couple. First, who is James? That's it. Yeah. For those of you who may be watching TV and don't know, the James they're talking about is actually Eric Thompson. That's the way the name he grew up in here in Beloit. I graduated with him in 1981. So we have a standing joke when he started here, and Michelle said, we have a wonderful person, James Thompson. I said, who was James? I said, that's Eric, and so we have that going on. But I thank him for his services as well. One thing I learned about individuals who go other places to work, they always come back. So it's just a matter of time. We'll let him go and explore other things, and we'll see him probably in a couple of years when he comes back. But if we could pass along to, like Marilyn said, to DPW, the wonderful job that they did with the snow. In the cold weather while we're inside looking out, we have individuals that's working throughout the night to make sure when we wake up the streets are clean. And this is probably where I'll get in trouble from the community, but even though we would like for them to pick up the plow at each driveway, we know that that is highly unlikely, and going against popular belief, we don't have the trucks sitting down the road waiting for you to shovel your driveway so they can come plow all the snow back in. But we realize that it's a lot of snow. We realize that once you get out there and get it done, then the trucks come along. We ask you to continue to be patient with them. When they have to move snow off the street, we gotta move it. So it happens to us as well. So it's not like the counselors don't have to. We get plowed in too. So, but we ask you to please be patient with them and give them a lot of understanding, because when we're shoveling at 10 o'clock in the morning, they've already been out there probably 12 hours or more. So we ask that you be patient with them. And I also would like to thank the city manager and Mr. Mark Perry for the training. I'm looking forward to more training, because that's going to do is open up a lot of true discussion and open up our eyes to things that we see every day but maybe don't realize what we do. Sometimes it's not always what the other person is doing to us, but sometimes it's what we have within ourselves that we do to other people. So I'm looking forward to a lot more training with that. So with that, as everyone else said, have a happy holiday.
Thank you. James, Eric, would you stand up so people can see you? Thank you. I didn't know we'd get to you after that snow job from this guy, I tell you. I also was able to spend some time with our city manager at the Beloit Historical Society in helping them plan a plan for the future for viability and for their growth at a strategic planning session. And then also last week, was happy to be there with Councilor DeForest at the St. Thomas Church. Our chief of police was there with his staff, and they spoke to our Hispanic community about police procedures and had a very warm reception. And I think just another attempt by our police department, our chief, to inform the public. And if there's one thing that sticks in my mind, it's that our police are guardians, first and foremost, guardians. And I think that's something that I wish we could transmit to everybody across the city. They're here for the benefit of all people. As long as we're standing up, would you stand up? You're an Eagle Scout, right? Almost. Stand up. You're close enough. Nice job. again, to echo the sentiments of fellow councilors, happy holidays to everybody as we finish up the 2016 year. Okay, that's all that I have on that.
Under the
reports.
city manager's presentation, we have the economic development update.
Mr. Yonke.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity here. About this time every year, I come down and try to give you a little update of what's been going on with the economic development community. So let me get into this. I got a few slides to go through here this evening. Start off here talking a little bit about some of the activity that's going on in city center, or the downtown as many people refer to it. Most of the activity that's been kind of concentrated, of course, our largest project is the continued redevelopment of the Ironworks. There's been several new additions to the Ironworks this year. Ebates and Fat Wallet, they moved across the street from East Grand, did a major expansion in the Ironworks. They're actually planning for their next expansion. Comply 365 did an expansion. AccuLinks did an expansion. Mastercraft located to this facility. And I think we've all been watching the State Line YMCA. They're in the process of doing their renovation, which they hope to do a ribbon cutting for coming up this spring in 2017. And then the other project going on here is the Hendricks Career Tech facility. It too is under construction. That hopefully will be opening up in February of 2017. We also continue to support this particular project. Of course, we conveyed a small piece of land that was city-owned to the developers, Hendricks Commercial Properties, which allowed them to do a major expansion of this parking lot, which allowed them to add 90 new stalls. The other new addition to the Ironworks was the Iron Tech facility, which is sort of a conglomeration of activities and efforts to support entrepreneurial development in the community. Iron Tech is the home of the Chamber of Commerce. It's an incubator, it's a co-working space, it's a tech hub. SCORE has office hours there, and the most recent addition is G-Beta, which is a 6-week training program for teams of individuals who have early start ideas to help give them mentoring and technical assistance to take their idea to a start. The other major economic development project in the city center that we're continuing to follow is the Powerhouse project, which is the old electrical generating facility on the river. Beloit College is proposing to turn this into a campus facility. Last time we connected with the college, they were very close to reaching their $38 million goal of fundraising for this project. They still hope to begin construction in 2017 with a completion scheduled for 2018. For industrial development, a number of projects to highlight here as well. I track activity not only in the city of Beloit, but throughout greater Beloit. That includes, of course, the city of Beloit, town of Turtle, city of South Beloit. So the first industrial project I want to talk about here is Ultra Industrial Motion, project actually in South Beloit. But they're doing a $1.5 million renovation to this facility. They're going to be adding 30 new jobs, and they're adding some capability to their research and development there. The largest economic development project in the greater Beloit area, and what will prove probably to be the largest economic development project in the state of Wisconsin coming up in the next couple years, is the Riverside Energy Center, which is, of course, the old electrical generating station just north of the city of Beloit. They're doing a 700 megawatt new gas-fired electrical facility here. It's going to be $750 million in investment, and it's going to create 200 to 300 construction jobs over the next 2 years. There will be additional full-time operating positions that will be created there as well. This project was approved last year by the PSC. Demolition started not too long ago. Those big candy-striped towers, they came down. Large-scale construction will begin in 2017, run through 2019, and they hope to have that fully operational by 2020. Treehouse Foods, formerly ConAgra, another facility in South Beloit, they just recently completed a major expansion to their production capacity. This is a $15 million private investment. They have created over 150 new jobs. They have the potential to create additional new jobs, and they've set this facility up to allow them to do more production as well. DuPont, back in the city of Beloit, they're in the midst of a multi-year expansion project. They're in the middle of phase 2. Again, they're working to develop the production capacity of their facility. Significant capital investment, $23 million in capital investment. This is a very infrastructure-related company, not creating a lot of jobs, just 2 new jobs with this particular phase, but pretty significant capital investment. In September, we announced this project, TMD, or Toledo Molding and Die. They're leasing the spec building on Willowbrook, 105,000 square feet they're taking there. That's going to be a $14 million investment. They're creating 118 new jobs. Average hourly wage here will be about $16 an hour. They hope to be open, doing some production there by February, full production by this spring. And of course, that project was lured in part by Hendrick's ability to buy a piece of land from us, build that first 105,000 square foot spec building, which is the one in the foreground. That's the building that TMD is going to be occupying. And with that lease being signed for the entire building, Hendrick's Commercial Properties is going to begin construction on a second 105,000 square foot building a little bit closer to Willowbrook, with the ultimate goal to kind of connect those 2 buildings. That 31-acre site could accommodate up to 300,000 square feet of building, maybe a little bit more. So this is a phase project. Phase 1 is complete, it's leased. Phase 2 will be going under construction in the spring. Phase 3, dependent upon how they do with leasing up phase 2. Midwest Refrigerated Services, they're located at 2555 Kennedy Drive. They purchased this building in 2016, early 2016. They invested $105 million to convert this from dry storage to cold storage. And they're using it for warehouse and distribution of cold product, and they created 8 new jobs with that particular project. Schneider's Lance, most of you probably know that as Kettle Foods. They did an expansion project this year. They invested about $9 million, and they added a potato chip line to support their continued growth. Ironically, their competitor in the city of Beloit, Frito-Lay, also added a potato chip line, as well as a 30,000 square foot addition to their warehouse distribution facility. That project is completed as well. Stacy mentioned about True Aseptics. New startup company, of course. We've got a closing pending here coming up in a couple days, but they are working to purchase the former ADM, or Wild Aseptics building at 2924 Waiata. They intend to produce aseptic juices and ingredients, so over a $7 million project, and as Stacy mentioned, could create 40 or more jobs when that project is fully up and operational. A few other notable projects. You're going to hear about this one a little bit later. G5 Brewing Company, Lee and Jill Gunderson have an offer in. That'll be coming before you in a few minutes here to purchase a 5-acre site in the Gateway Business Park. They want to develop a craft brewery business and a supporting restaurant and full bar. They would like to start out by having a 10-barrel brewing system there. They want to brew 8 to 10 regular and seasonal brews, with the potential to grow this thing to up to 10,000 barrels a year. And again, when fully operational, they're hoping to hire 50 to 70 employees. The building that they're proposing to build is 9,750 square feet. This is the footprint, how it would sit on that 5-acre site that you'll be considering possibly approving their offer to purchase coming up here. And just a few other images of the proposed development of what they're hoping to do. And they're hoping, assuming the sale takes place by our closing date, they hope to begin construction on this facility coming up this spring. Another notable project is Beloit Health System is in the process of doing their hospital, their cardiology clinic, their new cardiology clinic. This is a $13.8 million project. It's going to include a hybrid operating room, a series of labs, and this is part of, again, a 3-phased project with completion scheduled for 2017. You heard also about this project earlier on your agenda, KDN Hospitality. They're proposing to develop a 6-story Holiday Inn Express hotel at the former Wicks lumber site. If I recall, this is proposed to be 127 rooms when it's complete. One area that I haven't been able to talk about for a number of years is residential development. The Great Recession was tough on housing. It was particularly tough on our market, but we're starting to see some pretty significant activity, and again, throughout all sectors, including assisted living. We had one major large assisted living project on Hart Road open up this year. Again, pretty major project, about a $5 million investment, 44 to 100 units when it's fully built out. And then we had another assisted living project announced this last year, Christensen Elderly Care Facility. Hasn't begun construction yet. They're proposing to do that on Cranston Road. When completed, if completed, it'll be 20 units. Again, they hope to begin construction next year. Seeing some more activity on multifamily out in the Gateway, Hawks Ridge. That particular developer was in talking about doing a build-out for that. They want to add 3 to 4 new buildings. Those would be 4-story buildings, could add up to 400 units. Be underground parking like the existing units, so about 440 parking stalls to support that. They haven't pulled permits on this. We hope they'll pull permits early next year and start construction in the spring. We've also seen some reinvigoration on the condo side. Walnut Grove Condos, this is a duplex condo project. They're proposing to build 6 units, which would include 6 buildings, 12 units. Some of those units are actually pre-sold, and a couple of those are still under construction. And we can continue to see traction with single-family housing development, particularly out in Gateway. The Eagles Ridge subdivision, I think there's a development agreement later on your agenda for this particular project. And we've seen 13 to 14 houses built in the last couple years. And what's kind of exciting about this is those new homes have a value range anywhere between $154,000 and $206,000. So these aren't necessarily really cheap homes either. Talk briefly about some of our marketing efforts. We have a very limited budget. We partner with the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation. And we kind of focus our marketing efforts on the Gateway Business Park because we, in partnership with the GBEDC, we own that particular park. So we do some targeted advertising. We advertise in the State Line Business Journal, Chicago Industrial Properties, and Midwest Real Estate News. The next few slides just kind of gives you an idea of some of the copy that we use in those advertising placements. We're just trying to differentiate ourselves from our competition, highlight our excellent location, assets, resources, and the good company that companies can keep if they locate here. And taking advantage of some of our more recent rankings that we think kind of shows well for Beloit and shows well in particular for the Gateway Business Park. Part also of our marketing activities, we continue to attend trade shows. We still think one of our greatest opportunities lies with food processing and food technology. So we've identified a couple trade shows that we like to attend on a regular basis. We like to go to the Institute of Food Technologies trade show in July in Chicago, and the Private Label Manufacturers Association Conference, which is in the fall in Chicago as well. Transition here, talk a little bit about workforce development activity. I'm going to talk about it a little bit further when I talk about BRE as well. One of our launches that we had this last year in March, we launched our Jobs in Rock County website. This is a free service to all of our employers. Companies are looking to hire or recruit. It's available to anybody at no cost, and it's our platform that we're trying to encourage people to use when they have placements or if they're seeking a job. This is linked to a lot of other platforms, major national, international platforms like Indeed. So if you go on to this site, you post your position, they automatically get posted on those large international postings as well. We've got 90 companies so far throughout the county participating, 130 job positions, and we're seeing on average 1 new posting every single day. We also launched a pilot program this last year. We call it the Community Concierge Program. This is a function that I've been doing for the last year or so, but we've identified, particularly with companies that are looking to recruit professional level talent, that when they're selling a position, they're not just selling a job, they're also selling a community. And they wanted to create an opportunity with their recruits to be able to not only learn about their jobs, what they'd be making, what benefits they would receive, what their work conditions would be like, but what kind of community would they be engaging in. So we started out by doing a few tours of a few recruits, getting them involved with the community, taking them down to farmers market, to go to farmers market, taking them to breakfast, giving them tours of our schools, our high school, our middle schools. And we found that this was a pretty effective way to get people to say, not only do I want to take a job in Beloit, but I want to live in Beloit. So we thought, when I say we, the Vision Beloit partners, we worked collectively to kind of pilot this effort and see if we could hire somebody on a part-time basis to do this on a more ongoing basis. So we identified a few potential key stakeholders. These 5 companies: Hendricks, Cary, Beloit College, Beloit Health Systems, First National Bank, who help fund this pilot program. So it's privately funded. We raised $20,000, and we've hired Maggie Littlefield, and she is going to be our community concierge. She's been on the job for 3 weeks now, and she will be out there doing her bit starting the first of the year. Hard to talk about economic development without talking a little bit about major infrastructure, because infrastructure often supports economic development. Of course, our biggest project that we've been following for years is the I-39-90 expansion project. We got some good news this last year about that project being refunded. We've seen a lot of activity started this year, but you're going to see most of that activity starting next year, and that activity, construction work, is going to run through 2022. This slide just kind of illustrates the sections of that particular project and when they're going to be worked on. About this time last year, we brought the Pratt project to you for consideration, and one of the things that we committed to was improving Collie Road, which we did. We've completed this project recently. We paved Collie Road. We put in new curbs, gutter, lighting. We're going to be firing up the street lights or the traffic control system here pretty shortly. This not only supports Pratt Industry, but it opens up several new development sites on that portion of Collie Road as well. Another major infrastructure project that was completed was the Inman Parkway extension, which connected Highway G and County S. That construction took place over 2 years, but it was completed this year. And then I also want to talk about a few of our strategic initiatives that we've been working on. I also serve as the executive director for the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation. We spent the better part of this last year working on updating and adopting our strategic plan. We also took a long, hard look at the Gateway Business Park. This park has been pretty successful. We've had a lot of sales. Absorption's been pretty good, so we want to think about what would happen next. So we looked at the surrounding land use. We looked at lands that were vacant and potentially immediately adjacent to the areas that have been developed in the park. We looked at availability to infrastructure, sewer, water, etc. And we developed this map, which essentially identifies areas in and around the park that when opportunities should arise or could arise, that we should consider possibly expanding into those areas. We also partnered with a number of other community-based organizations to do a feasibility study for an ice arena analysis. Those results are still being evaluated. And the GBEDC also partnered with the city of South Beloit to conduct a design charrette where we looked at opportunities to improve and enhance the Gardner Street and Black Hawk Boulevard. We actually had those community charrettes just 2 weeks ago. And then a few program updates to talk about. I continue to work with my colleagues around Rock County to do our BRE visits, BRE, Business Retention Expansion. This is a formal interview process where we go out, we make visits to our companies, we collect data, we ask them questions, we conduct a survey. And to date, we've done 263 of these interviews throughout Rock County. This number does not reflect the courtesy calls that I make along with the city manager from time to time. And use this slide to make a point here. When we've been out visiting our companies, the number one issue that they're concerned about right now is workforce development, their ability to recruit and retain workers. As the economy continues to heat up, that is going to continue to be a challenge moving forward. So in part why we launched the Jobs in Rock County website, in part why we did the Community Concierge program, there's going to be a lot of pressure to help those companies fill and retain those positions. We have our revolving loan fund. We have 3 loans currently active. We've lent out $83,578. We have 1 potential loan that's been approved that's pending closing. And we have On the books, pending available, $328,000 and some change. Some of these dollars are going to be diverted to support the NARSA program, but we still have some dollars available. Program income will continue to build that pot as well. And then kind of to wrap things up here, talk about a couple economic indicators. Every time I come before you, I show you this slide. It's our unemployment rate. It continues to be high, higher than we would like it to be, but you'll notice these numbers are different than they were a year or two ago. A year or 2 years ago, they were always 1 or 2. And this last year, we saw 4s and 3s. So that's a pretty positive trend, and it aligns with what I've been telling you about the needs that our employers have and their need to recruit workers. This chart just kind of summarizes the benchmarks that we follow and we track for job creation, square footage, private investment, since we started collecting this data in 1999. The bottom chart is kind of the most current based on what we know. It's like a balance sheet. It's a snapshot in time, and it can change as projects are added or as projects change. And this is an exhibit that I got from my colleague in Rock County, James Otterstein. Where you see these indicators going up, that's good news. Sales tax collections are up, residential activity is up, electrical meter and usage is up, investments and projects are up, and on the other side, vacancies are down. We have very, very little Class A or Class B industrial space in the marketplace. Unemployment rates continue to fall, bankruptcies are down, and foreclosures are down. And although it doesn't show up here on this particular chart, I'd also tell you, because the labor market is tightening up, wages are raising in Rock County as well. So those are my comments. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Nice to be a bearer of good news.
Yeah.
Are there questions? Do you have a question?
Not yet, not yet.
Go ahead, City Manager. Do you have a question?
I think there may be some interest in what some of the workforce challenges are and how the city can be a partner. We have provided some workforce training grants in the past to help with some specified training for new companies, and I know that has been helpful, but even with that, there is still a disconnect, if you will, between we know we have individuals who are looking for work, but we hear consistently from our businesses that there are concerns about having the specifically qualified staff that we're looking for.
Yeah, there's still a skills gap out there, maybe widening.
So then,
Councilor Levy.
so then my question would be then, with the training grants, what's being done with that if we're not developing the workforce that we may need? Is that the purpose of the grant, that if to kind of help develop a workforce that you may need in the future? Because I think the last time I was on it, we were kind of doing the same thing. So even back then, I was wondering if we're giving companies money for training, who are they training? Because I want to make sure that we're very careful, and hope it doesn't seem negative, but when we award people training grants, that we're utilizing it to build our workforce down the road. So that's not happening.
Well, let me try to explain. When we have done workforce or training grants, they've been TIF funded, right? So if we give a net sum to a company that's coming in, they're creating X amount of jobs, and they're going to use those dollars, we ask them to document how they use them. So they have to provide us names. So John Blow received 10 hours of training to operate this particular piece of machinery. It wasn't necessarily dollars that were used to send somebody to go to school. Most of these dollars are used for on-the-job type training. So we can actually show how our dollars were spent down to the individual level. I mean, so it's a little bit different, and I think a lot more effective than kind of the more shotgun approach. And how do you, and this is kind of the enigma that we have, is how do we train the workforce at large that doesn't have the skills to even get the job in the first place? That's a tougher question.
So one of the things that we're doing is we are looking towards solutions where we're partnering with other agencies in the community that can provide some workforce readiness and other types of training that might be necessary to even take that step to get in the door. The grants that we were referencing are typically very specific to an industry and to their services and to that particular line. So those are very tailored training dollars that are spent. But there are, we think, other opportunities within the city of Beloit to help get people more prepared to enter the workforce.
So if I may follow up, do we partner with Black Hawk Tech at all? With, you know, which businesses are coming to the city. Do we ever look at Black Hawk Tech or their surrounding schools, UROC, and saying, here's the type of business coming? Do you have students that are ready to kind of graduate that can move into this? Because they have most of the education already. We can bring them in, and some of the training dollars could get them up to speed to where they need to go. So I'm wondering, are we doing that? Are we doing it kind of that partnership as well? And we have tracking on that. And if we one day would say, well, let's see how many students from Black Hawk Tech or UROC or even from the city work in these new companies that we're bringing here. Because I think one thing that concerns me, and I guess down through the years, that I want to make sure when we bring companies to the city that we're helping our own as well in the city and the surrounding area. And I think that if we're bringing them here, we have to receive. And I'm not saying we're not receiving any benefits at all, but like you said, the city manager, we have people looking for jobs, but we're having companies saying we can't find people. So somewhere there's got to be a happy medium in there to...
Agreed. And I'm very optimistic about the new president of Black Hawk Technical Colleges, because he has a philosophy that they should be more adaptable and nimble. And one of the struggles that we've had, be it with any of our educational systems, they're not, generally speaking, the most adaptable. So we have a business climate that's rapidly changing, and we may not be keeping pace on an educational front with those needs. So I think that there's an recognition, if you will, that that's a gap. And I think they're taking strides to help address that, and I think that will get us a long way towards where we need to be.
Yeah. Councilor DeForest, did you want to add something?
Yes, thank you. And this is an area where I'd like to see us be more proactive. You know, in the past, we met more regularly with the school district and the school board, and I was a bit disappointed with some of the substance of those agenda items and conversations, where I thought that we really should have been more collaborative about looking at what kind of industry sectors we were recruiting and bringing in for a Beloit niche, and having that conversation with our schools about what kind of workforce they needed. And I would like to see us do that in the future. I know that Andrew's done some of that, and our city manager has, but I think as a body we need to continue to talk with our school board and encourage them to consider some of these upcoming needs. You know, as many of you know, I fought very hard to get the transportation construction training program that we finally have here. And I think with all the 3990 expansion that's coming, that's critical. We have all kinds of possibilities here. I'd like to see us be more hands-on and more proactive, more advocating for some of those changes that need to happen so that people are ready. I'm thrilled with the NARSA development that I'm assuming, we haven't seen that yet, but I'm assuming we're going to have a strong workforce training component, work readiness component part of that, and working with and partnering with community action. So I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And again, I'd like to just emphasize that we consider being more proactive in meeting with our educational leaders to make sure that we're both on the same page.
Go ahead.
And I'm just going to keep my foot on this pedal for a while, because I think we know far in advance when we're even courting a new business what type of business it is. So to Sheila's point, we need to be proactive in talking to all the schools and saying, we got this business possibly coming here in 3 to 5 years. We need to have a workforce ready to kind of move into this area. And I'm not saying we're not doing it, but it just seems as though when we get the tip that we may have this business coming in 5 years, then I think that's when we need to really push forward and say we need to make sure we have a workforce ready when they get here.
Well, if I can add, trying to think of a nice way to say this, but it's no secret, it's not rocket science that we're a prime location for food processing. And so we should be focusing more on some food science, and we're not doing that in our local education systems. And we've known about the food science push for years. So this isn't any secret. We know what businesses are coming. We know that we are a hub for regional transportation. We need to be pushing more education related to transportation fields because of our strategic locations. So to me, it makes sense that we have some more thoughtful discussions about what kind of skills our students need to really be prepared, to staff that workforce. So I think it can be done. I want to see us be a lot more thoughtful about working together on it.
No, your points are well taken. It's critical to our growth and development to have a skilled workforce that can meet the needs. When new employers come to town, they want skilled workers. And it enhances us even more if they're from Beloit, trained in Beloit. And Sheila, you hit it right on the head. And Ken Hendricks said it 10 years ago. We need everything from food service to welders, and we need them trained, and the best place to do it is in our schools.
And just kudos to the school district of Beloit. They've been working on their Career Tech initiative now for 3 years. So I think actually they're a little bit ahead of the ball here, but it's a train that takes time to build momentum. So I give the school district credit for all the efforts that they've made there.
Right.
And I just had one comment for Andrew. It's nice to see you have a strategy to work on bringing recruiting those people to live in Beloit rather than we've lost the ball on that in the past and had difficulty dealing with some of the relocating services that are used in the area and not getting exactly their best effort towards our city. So it's good to see us having our own strategy, and hopefully that works and it improves things, because we've certainly got the catalyst here already. Thanks a lot. I like that part of it. It's good to see.
Anybody? Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew, for the good news.
Thank you.
Reports from the boards and city officers.
We have a resolution approving a subdivision development agreement between the City of Beloit and New Leaf Homes LLC.
Ms. Christensen.
I feel like we've talked about this over and over again, but so at in this last meeting in November, you approved the 6-lot subdivision plat known as final plat of Eagles Ridge Plat Number 2. As a condition of approval was that the development agreement, that it couldn't be recorded until the development agreement was approved by City Council. So it is before you tonight. It outlines the responsibilities of the developer with respect to installing public improvements. It essentially puts it on the developer to construct the street, curb and gutter, water main, sewer mains, streetlights, sidewalks, all at their cost. They must be approved by city engineering prior to construction. Their designer has already been in to talk to us about how they're designing the streets, stormwater, meeting stormwater requirements. The final plat and all the parkland requirement went to the Parks Committee, and they had opted for fees in lieu of parkland dedication. So that will be provided on the 5 new lots, and then park impact fees will be paid as well when building permits are sought. That's all laid out in the development agreement, and once this is approved by City Council and executed, the final plat can be recorded and a real estate closing can be scheduled. You may recall that he is purchasing land from the city for $20,000 in order to make this development possible.
Are there questions for Ms. Christensen? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by DeForest, seconded by Preschel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Julie. B.
Well, B is a resolution approving certain changes to the schedule of fees and charges and rates for 2017 for the City of Beloit.
Mr. Miller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So fees are reviewed and evaluated each year during the budget process, and they are routinely adjusted in order to help offset costs associated with that service or program. The updated fees have already been included in the 2017 adopted budget that you guys passed last month, and the resolution is simply updating the fees to reflect those changes. The biggest change that we saw this year going into 2017 was the 3% increase in the wastewater utility fees, as well as some erosion control permit fees for the stormwater utility. And we have not received the PSC approval yet for the water rate study. But as soon as we do, we will update the resolution again and bring it back before you guys at that time. So other than that, if you have any questions for me,
Questions?
I'm happy to answer them.
Is there a motion? Moved by Sloniker, seconded by Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
12C is a resolution declaring doubtful accounts, authorizing amounts to be written off for write-off, and receiving and filing the 2016 report of the comptroller.
You're on again, Eric.
Here I am again, yeah, so quickly. So each year, the staff from various departments reviews the outstanding receivables that they have on the books to present their recommendation for write-off. According to city's policy for doubtful accounts, anything over $5,000 has to be presented before City Council for approval. At this time, we have 12 separate accounts that are being recommended for write-off in the amount of approximately $130,000. The majority of these accounts are loans that were made through the City of Beloit Rehabilitation Loan Program, which is funded primarily through CDBG and home funds. All of these properties have gone through the foreclosure process at this time, and all the recipients of the proceeds are deceased. There are currently 2 utility accounts being recommended for write-off. Those loans or those accounts have gone through tax foreclosure with the county and have already been resold to new owners. And then lastly, there was one loan that was made through the Economic Development Commercial and Industrial Loan Program, which is also funded through the CDBG. Andrew spoke a little bit about that earlier, his program. That loan was made through him. The payments on that loan became more and more infrequent to the point where a portion of the business was sold, and then the owner simply disappeared. And so at this point, all of these accounts are deemed to be uncollectible. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions? Questions? Motion.
That motion?
Motion by DeForest,
Second.
seconded by Levy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
12D is a resolution waiving right of first refusal for 2924 Wyetta Drive.
Attorney Krieger.
The city
Turn on mic.
I'll get on here.
Got it.
Great.
Thank you.
The city was approached about a potential sale for 2924 Wyetta. By virtue of a declaration of restricted covenants, we do have the repurchase rights for that property. The city does not have an interest in exercising those rights and do wish to consent to the transfer of the property from Wildy Septics to True Beloit Properties, LLC. I have prepared the waiver and release for that, and the city would be looking for your approval of that release this evening.
Questions? Motion?
I'm happy to move to waive those rights to the
Motion by DeForest.
Marilyn seconded.
Second, a happy second but from Maryland. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
cartwheel if you do.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll wait for that cartwheel after the meeting.
I can do it. I have to get out of my tights, but I can do it.
Thank you, Attorney Krieger. E, please.
12E is a resolution approving an extended contract for statewide structural collapse team members between the city of Beloit and the state of Wisconsin.
Chief Murray.
Good evening. This is a resolution to approve a contract between the city of Beloit and the state of Wisconsin. It's basically just allowing us to participate or continue participation in the statewide technical rescue team and collapse rescue program. We've been involved in this since its inception in 2003. It's been very beneficial to the department and our personnel. There's very little cost to the city, if any. Most of that is reimbursed through grants and reimbursements to the state. So,
Questions?
any questions?
Chief Murray.
I get to say this is a wonderful collaboration.
It is. It is. It's actually helped us out a number of times on different incidents. So,
Is there a motion? Moved by Sloniker, seconded by Preschel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thanks, Joe.
thank you.
F.
An 11F is a resolution authorizing the sale of an approximately 5.12 acre portion of 1801 Gateway Boulevard to Gateway Brewing Company, LLC.
Welcome back, Andrew.
Hello again. I alluded to this project in my previous remarks, but Lee and Jill Gunderson proposing to buy 5.12 acres in the Gateway Industrial Park. Their proposal is to purchase that property, develop it into a craft brewery, restaurant, and bar. We've gone back and forth on the purchase price. We've settled on a purchase price of $25,600 for the site, which is about $5,000 an acre. With your approval tonight, we hope to close by February 28th of 2017. This is part of a larger site, a 35-acre site, so we're going to carve this 5-acre site off by conducting a certified survey map. We've also included a provision in the sale document to allow us to repurchase the site for the agreed-upon sales price if the developer does not begin construction within 1 year of closing on the property. So staff is recommending approval.
Questions from Mr. Gillies? Let me just say, it's just nice when we get development like this. It's going to be more opportunity for people to maybe dine and have meetings, small conventions or whatever, and maybe a tourist attraction in the future, so some more growth. We have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Preschel.
Second.
Seconded by DeForest. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Andrew. Mark, I think you're up.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second? We need a second. Second by Marilyn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.